Hi, I'm Roland and I decided to make this video because I'm appalled, I'm angry and I'm concerned about this statement Vladimir Putin made at the Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg on June 27th.
Мы будем готовы уже в ближайшие месяцы, в ближайшие 3-4 месяца безвозмездно предоставить Буркина-Фасо, Зимбабве, Мали, Сомали, Центральноафриканской Республики, Эритреи по 25-50 тысяч тонн зерна. Обеспечим и бесплатную доставку этой продукции потребителям.
His speech is full of the usual anti-Western rhetoric and full of lies, and I want to point out some of them here. Now, he sounds a bit like a cunning used car salesman, but even the most crooked salesman is a saint compared to him. He is more like a drug dealer giving out free drugs until the victim is hooked and then has to pay a high price for it. It's just more evidence of Putin's predatory nature. And one of his most cynical moves in this war. First, pulling out of the Black Sea grain deal, then destroying Ukrainian infrastructure they use for grain export, and after that, offer to solve the problem he created by offering grain from Russia. These are old mafia tactics. And this also proves that the aim of this war is not to protect Russians in Donbass or the security of Russia. It's to destroy Ukraine as a nation and to destabilize and dominate the world. In his speech, Putin grossly downplayed the importance of Ukraine as a grain exporter. He said,
Доля России на мировом рынке пшеницы 20%. Украины менее 5%.
I don't know where he gets his figures from, but as you can see from the official statistics by the ITC, that's clearly not the case, and the figures for the previous years are similar. It looks like Putin is doing what he does best, lying and manipulating. The figures for 2022 are quite different, of course, but that's because Ukraine's ability to produce and export grain has been severely hampered by the war that Russia started, by turning agricultural land into minefields, and finally by illegally annexing about 20% of Ukraine, much of it agricultural land used for grain production. The free deal Putin announced is for the next 3 or 4 months and only for the few countries. Those are Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, the Central African Republic, and Eritrea. That will only benefit these 6 countries this year. Most of them are already friends of Russia, but all the other countries in Africa and the world will suffer through higher prices, hitting all the poorest nations the most. In fact, the amount of grain Putin pledged to those 6 countries for free is just a drop in the bucket, because in 2022 they imported about 3 times that quantity in wheat alone, not counting all the other grains. And, as generous as it may sound, the offer he made is about 1% of Russia's wheat exports in 2022. In other words, practically nothing. In 3 of these countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and the Central African Republic, PMC Wagner is also actively supporting the regimes, and Prigozhin is already rubbing his hands and shaking hands with some African officials in St. Petersburg in the background. Didn't Putin make a statement recently that PMC Wagner does not exist? Russia's main export is intrigue, weapons and war, and Russia has used every opportunity to play its power games on the African continent. Putin is once again twisting the truth blaming the West for the poor attendance by African leaders of the summit, for rising grain prices and for global inflation. But in fact, it's the Russian war in Ukraine which has driven up grain prices and inflation globally. And most African leaders are not attending because they are against this war and want it to stop, as the support of 30 African countries for the UN resolution condemning the Russian invasion in February and the recent peace initiative by some African leaders showed. At the end of the summit, many participants urged a renewal of the Black Sea grain deal and an end of the war in Ukraine. Most European countries learned the hard way in 2022 that being dependent on Russian gas and oil is a bad idea. Russia tried to use this dependence as a political weapon to prevent Europe from imposing sanctions against Russia as a reaction to the invasion of Ukraine. Learn from this and don't make the same mistake. This should be a warning to African countries. You will exchange Western imperialism for Russian imperialism. The best way for African countries to avoid being exploited further by any imperial powers, that includes Russia, is to stand together, take control of their valuable resources, and establish trading relationships on equal terms with many different countries all over the world. I hope you found this video interesting. I'm almost finished with part 2 of my video about the Second Chechen War, and I will upload it within a week. Please subscribe so you won't miss it. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.